Hello and you're very welcome to Kicking Match, your weekly podcast all about the Irish League. My name is Peter Cinnamon and they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, unfortunately it took 5 teams to muster up 9 goals this weekend. But what we lacked in goalmouth thunderbolts, we well more made up for it in left field unretirements. Top teams fumbling their chance to take control of the title race, and a wealthy owner totally not copying their homework from somebody else, regardless on if you got a wee bit too invested in Cameroon versus Serbia or not. It's a safe space here where we will continue to power on through the storm that is constant football on TV and the odd questionable playing surface here or there. I am still yet to see a single Christmas tree at an Irish League ground yet, but there has been plenty of lights on early, not the nice colourful twinkly kind. I'm talking about big energy zapping floodlights. I heard Solitude had them on like literally at kickoff, so it's getting dark, it's getting cold, but we're still coming out bar when there's, Poland against Saudi Arabia on. But there was plenty of games this weekend. There's lots of news to wade through, and the man joining me this week is probably slightly surprised to be chatting to me off the back of his team snagging a win. But he ran his eyes across all the games this weekend, and he's here to make his Kicking Match debut. A very warm welcome to journalist and co-host of the Coleraine podcast, it's Johnny McNabb.
Hi Peter, how are you? Thanks for having me on. And yeah, there was a surprise. They beat Larne, so probably easy, I suppose, would be the right way of putting it. But yeah, we were due a win against the top team, so thank goodness it came on Friday night.
Yeah, well, you say you're due it, but Portadown are due to get a win against anybody, and right now it doesn't look like Santa's even going to give them one. So, you can't always count your chickens, and you were Coleraine were the belle of the ball. Everybody couldn't stop fawning over all these wonderful players that you'd signed, and you look so strong. And now you're maybe coming back. You're back on the rise. You boys looked like you absolutely loved beating Larne there at Inver. Is there a little bit of a tasty rivalry emerging there, cooking up in the pot?
I think there is. I wouldn't say we're massive rivals, but we just obviously beating each other. We had them a couple of Irish Cup games a few years ago when I think there was like a 3-2 and there was a 4-3 and everyone else, and we beat them in the semi-final Irish Cup as well. So those were always ding-dong games, and then obviously you've the ex-players, you've Ben Doherty at Larne, and we've Lee Lynch and Dean Jarvis here, so that always adds a wee bit of spice to it as well. And yeah, they're always feisty affairs, they're always good battles and everything else. And yeah, look, it's always nice to beat a full-time team. We're not going to deny that. And there's plenty of money down in Larne and everyone else, and they're full-time, they're flying high at the top of the league. So yeah, but look, we need to concentrate on ourselves. We probably need a result like that to hopefully kickstart the season again.
We are into the games earlier than we usually are. No faffing here. Straight in, flat to the mat. And we are, of course, talking about the game on Friday between Larne and Coleraine down at Inver Park. They look so strong, do Larne, there on the Friday night with the lights on. But they wilted, not in the sun, but in the fierce red hot form that Coleraine were on. Boy, did McKendry love that goal. I'm not quite sure about the celebration, but my goodness, did he take it, and did he love it when I hit the back of the net.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard Orange's post-match interview, but I think Connor not gets under his skin, but Connor's so good in training. I wish people could see what he's like in training. See his close ball control and everything. Nobody can get the ball off him, and it's probably getting that in their match day. And yeah, look, he used to play for Larne as well. Probably got a wee bit of nice pleasantries from the home support, and yeah, look, a great ball in for the first goal for Sheldon's header, and he took his goal well as well. So yeah, look, all in all, a great night. I think that's our 6th clean sheet in 7 games as well. So probably last month or even a couple of months, we were probably playing too nice football and getting punished for silly mistakes, where we sort of try to have a happy medium where we'll play in the right areas but defend as well. So it's finding that happy medium too. So but yeah, look, no, a good result. But listen, we need to kick on now, and I think we've Dungannon on Saturday.
You're absolutely right. It was about Coleraine to get angry. They need to get in people's faces. And yes, they may have been dragged along by McKendry, but you guys are really starting to get a nice run going. And you've stolen my stat before I could say it. I talked about a few weeks ago what Coleraine probably need to build a run on, and it has to be at the back. That's 3 clean sheets in a row now, a number in the past few games. What do you think has been the change? Has it just been a focus on getting the basics right, or is it a case of you're starting to get more settled back line there?
I think I think a bit of both. Obviously, like, if you look at a lot of the goals you can see this year, it's probably come down to individual errors. Orange also probably in the last 4 or 5 weeks had a settled back four with Conor McDermott and Dean Jarvis as fullbacks and Stevie O'Donnell and with Kieran Farn. He's probably got the added luxury too with Lyndon Kane and Josh Carson. They can just about play everywhere, probably our goalkeeper, so they can fill in either left back or centre half as well. So he's probably got a nucleus there now of a solid back four or back five that he can probably depend on too, and maybe give a few more minutes to the likes of Adam Mullen and Rodney Brown over the next few weeks as well. So yeah, look, I think whenever we nearly did win the league and won cups and qualify for Europe, we had a strong basis there at the back, and we always had somebody at the other end of the pitch that can seemingly score a goal, and we probably have that still to this day. Obviously, Chevy's got about 13 goals. Conor McHenry can get a few. Lee Lynch. We do have goal scorers in our team, but obviously, if you can keep the back door shut, you give yourself an extra better chance of obviously picking up 3 points.
We talk about the stability at the back, but it's across that forward line. I saw a few question marks going into the game. You're without Glacken. Evan McLaughlin's out of the team. Were you surprised by how fluid that team looked on the Friday with the likes of McKendry up there? Because he hasn't been starting every game.
I think Connor's obviously struggled with a few knocks this year as well, and maybe a wee bit of confidence or maybe not. And obviously, yeah, look, he got a starting role in behind Chevy, probably in a free role, and sort of suited him where he didn't not that he didn't have to be disciplined, but he was able to pick up different positions in the pitch and bring other players into play. Evans probably a victim of his own success in the sense that he started off so well. A couple of goals on his debut. I think he had a goal and assist the next game as well. But people need to remember that Evans only 20 as well, so he's going to have ups and downs where he's going to be very, very good, and maybe some weeks where he's been a bit more quiet. But again, he's well at himself. His attitude's spot on. I don't think he's huffing or anything like that there. I've seen a few people saying he's going to be a definite away in January. I've heard the opposite, where he's going to stay to the end of the season. Glax as well, fantastic ball carrier. He can pick the ball up from deep and get us out and pick up fouls and everything else. So, but yeah, look, it shows that we can win without those couple of players on the pitch too. And competition for place is going to be good now as well. So obviously, when Glax is back from injury, he's going to have to knock it down and perform better than Connor to get back into the team.
And I just knew when I was talking about this Larne team last week, after we're all bigging them up, they're on the charge, they look like the team is going to run ahead, it just felt it was destined that they were also going to have their big bump in the road. It's not been a great 7 days for them. They go to Windsor Park, they don't get a result, they get turned over 1-0 by Linfield. Then a few days later, they then lose to Coleraine. Who could have predicted it? But of course, me. But regardless of them being this full-time team, at times against you guys on Friday, I felt they looked a bit tired and a slightly bit leggy. Coleraine looked like they had all the energy and impetus to go forward.
Obviously, on Tuesday night, they were away at Linfield and the adrenaline and playing at Windsor Park in a massive game. And Larne probably knew if they beat Linfield, they were effectively, I'm not saying definitely, but they would have a good chance of pushing Linfield maybe out of the title race, even though it's in November. And yeah, look, I think they maybe had the better of the first half, and Linfield had the better of the second half, and obviously Linfield scored from a set piece as well. And I said in our podcast there through the week that if Coleraine scored first Friday night, I would be confident they would win the game. And obviously we got an early goal, and we were able to sort of see the first half out and grab the second. And Larne to me played the exact same way at 2-0 down as they did at 0-0. Gareth Dean probably had 2 saves to make the whole game. They did look tired. I was very, very shocked when Paul O'Neill went off. Anytime he plays against Coleraine, he always seems to score. So whenever he got subbed off, I was inside. I was delighted. But look, every team has a tough patch. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows and everyone else. And Glentoran had a wee bit of a wobble there a couple of weeks ago. Linfield are still playing catch up. Cliftonville probably didn't have the greatest start of the season because we beat them. So yeah, look, you look at the league table, one of 4 or 5 teams could probably win it, and it's going to be who's more consistent probably now heading into the December and January time.
It's looking tight, and when I look at Larne, I see so many of their great qualities, the real tight unit they have in midfield, how they get a lot of their width from deep. But the one thing that I haven't been able to shake is that with the two forwards, it's what you're giving up. And it only takes someone like an old flame coming to your ground and just thinking, oh, if only we could have that. And maybe it's just because a lot of the teams around them have this quality. But Larne are able to build from the back, neat little passing, and a lot of pressure comes from the centre. But sometimes, particularly when you go against a team like Coleraine, who are quite tight at the back and are able to flush out those balls from deep, they don't have a McKendry. They don't have real width and pace out wide at the top of the pitch. Linfield have that. Crusaders have that in abundance. If there's something that you're going to say that could be the Achilles heel of Larne, and it's something they might want to address, and look, they were looking at the likes of Jordan Stewart during the summer, you'd have to say a bit of pace and a bit of width up top could be something that they might need, particularly in a game like Friday night where something really needed to change. The game plan needed to be edited. You can bring in different personnel, but sometimes when the shape isn't working, you have to mold it very slightly differently. And I don't think they have that wide pace to change games when a lot of the big teams do.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Obviously, you look at Ben Doherty and Mark Randall. They are sort of playing a wider position for them, but I wouldn't necessarily call them out and out wingers like a Jordan Stewart, like a Paul Heatley, like a Ross Clark. So yeah, would probably Jimmy McLagan. Yeah, 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 no, 100%. But I suppose with us, we technically didn't play with any wingers on Friday night. We had two good wing backs as well. So Tomas Cosgrove, he's nearly like a winger. I don't think I've ever seen him cross a ball that hasn't landed at somebody's head or somebody's feet. He's so good going forward, and if you can keep him quiet, he's a secret weapon. I think for Larne as well. And yeah, look, I also think for Larne too. I think if Lee Bonus or Paul is out for a sustained period of time, I don't think they've a like for like replacement there. So it's well documented they've probably one of the most smaller squads in the league, but they're starting 11s full of quality. Leroy Miller, and I probably only really appreciate how good Leroy Miller is now. I'm not saying because he's a Palomino and they got there, but I've probably fully appreciate this year how good the full time football's really kicked him on, and he's an animal. He's an athlete. He's probably a better footballing ability than I ever thought. So yeah, they'll
I
still
do
be
want
there
to
thereabouts
mention
in
you're
the season.
absolutely
It's
right.
only
I
a
was
couple of
talking
games
to
they've
a
lost
Ballymena
early.
man
They're
about
still top of the league and they've
Miller
points
and
in the
what the real
bag
difference is
rather
compared
than
to
the
this
games in
season and
hand.
last season, and ultimately this is a team game, and sometimes gelling with others can work one way or the other, and sometimes when you're a team that doesn't have the same amount of skill around you, you can drag them but only so far. And we've all seen players who can really be the centerpiece of a team and bring everybody else up to a higher standard, but when they're in a team where they're only one of many, they don't have the same impact. Leroy Miller seems to be the complete opposite. He gels into this team and makes other players better and prefers being one of many. He likes creating space for other people by drawing defenders towards him. And particularly in this system, yes, I can maybe point towards, oh, there's just one little wide area that doesn't work, but when you have him that's able to just push through the center and really come from deep, you are going to have an incredible weapon. And I want to highlight again Tomas Cosgrove. You're absolutely right. The amount of times you see him just maybe a few yards into the other team's half, and he always has to kind of look up, and he just goes, now's the one. And every time he hits the ball, it looks identical. He has just that technique down where he knows how to hit the ball, and when it looks the same every time and it has the same result, it's almost like people talked about Andy Mitchell at the start of the season. You can't let them wind up, and Tomas Cosgrove gets more of a press because teams go, oh no, he's gonna swing that ball to those two big strikers, and they look fantastic. And let's actually go to the team. Let's go to Leroy Miller's old team, the boys that are not too far away from you guys. They're not high in the table, but if they're going to get a charge going, they needed to start busting these old ghosts from last season, improve on the results. And a team that really had their number last season and even this season has been Carrick Rangers. They go to Taylor's Avenue and I was at this game on just such a blustery, windy day. I saw before kickoff that the corner flag was perpendicular. It was hugging the ground. It was so windy and it was unrelenting. And you would think that the team that has the wind, because it's going goal to goal, in their backs would actually be the one that would be in the advantage. But it wasn't. It was a game of two halves, and each time the team that had the wind in their face looked the far better. It took until maybe the last 20 minutes or so for them to get the goals, to get the win. Any team could have really won this, but when you want to improve and you want to get on, it's important to win these types of games. Ballymena 2-0, and it was all, for me, orchestrated by the energy and the fortitude of one Davy McDade. He is just an incredible player. I'm an amazing striker, from his running ability to his ball playing to just his positional work. He is, for me, still one of the top players in this league.
Yeah, I watched the highlights from the game, and yeah, Carrick seemingly had one over Ballymena all of last year. So when the two teams aren't too below us in the league, we're probably looking for a draw there, and it looks certain to be a draw. But obviously, Alex Gunn had a good chance for Carrick in the first half, and then obviously, I think the manner of the goals will probably disappoint Stuart King. The first one's from a set piece, and Dougie Wilson's probably braver than anybody else. They hit the ball in the back of the net. And the second goal, you mentioned Davy McDade. He's one of the most smart players I've ever seen in the Irish League as a striker. He uses his body well. For not the biggest guy in the league, he just, his hold-up play is usually spot on, brings other players into play and everyone else. And I think we were looking at him in the summer too, but just couldn't obviously match the financial offer by Ballymena, unfortunately. And yeah, look, he does so well for it, lays it on the plate for Sean Graham, who's not going to miss that one. So the biggest compliment I can play Carrick is that we've played them twice away this year already, and it is a tough place to go. They put it right up to you. It took us a goal with about 10 minutes to go. They finally beat them, and it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back now, because they started last season very, very well, and then around November, December time, then sort of sunk. But they'll probably learn from that. You know, they're experienced, a lot of experienced players in their team.
Their team built in their manager's image. Stuart King has got them fighting, and I thought in that first half in particular that this was Carrick's game to win, because they kept fighting for every ball. The conditions on the pitch made every bounce and every hit cross just so unpredictable, and it felt as though it was the players with experience who was going to deal with that and handle it better. And they really did put the game to Ballymena, and they looked as though they were the ones that were going to win the ball up the pitch and push through. And when you do miss a player like Curtis Allen, I think that was the difference, because in those chances that you were highlighting with Alex Gaughan, you don't want to single anybody out, but they were clear-cut chances, and those are chances where you don't get a lot of them in the game, and really that is often the difference, is do you put away the opportunities that arise from your other bits of play? And unfortunately they didn't, and Ballymena did. And when you have the ball being blown about, there's a gust, there's a rain, like, listen, watch the highlights, you just hear this constant buzz. Like, it's difficult and it's tough, and you thought every time set pieces were going to be key, and for Ballymena to get that first one with Dougie Wilson, and the game was really in their hands from there. And similar to the way we have the top of the table, a bunch of teams, we also have a bunch of teams off. It's like we talk about the 2 or the 3 leagues in one, but you really do see we're now in 7th place. There's 3 teams within 2 points of each other, and then up top you have a number of teams that are 3, 4, 5, 6 points within each other. Looking at Carrick as well, and with the players that shone for Ballymena, it made me really think about how in this league, particularly forward players, sometimes we often take this very Premier League or English, like European view on players, where we start to worry about them at a certain age. And actually, if you look back at the Irish League, oftentimes players have had better careers in the later half of their careers. The amount of players who are still going, still making impacts when they're 33, 34, 35. Think how many real quality players in this league have just kept on going and have kept being a real key asset to their team. And Carrick's a perfect example of this, from Irvin, the Surgeoner, to now Allen and Cushley. I've sometimes said in this podcast, oh, you got to worry about the future of this team. Are they going to be able to find the young players to fill in? And so far, you're like, why need to worry about it? Right here, right now, there's been a massive history from Glenn Ferguson, even McCutcheon, Heatley still doing it. Clubs should not be looking at any player right now at 31 who's doing the business thinking, are they going to be sticking around? Because right now, if they're doing the business at 31, they still could be doing the business at 35, so do not give up that ticket.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we've Stephen Lowry, they're until 35, 36, and you ask Gordon or anybody, he still weighs the same and looks the same as he did when he was 26. Kept himself in a great nick. And Stephen Douglas played at age 41, and a lot of people raised their eyebrows when we signed Stephen Douglas, but Orrin again would be the first to tell you that he helped bring through the likes of Lyndon Kane, Adam Mullen, Brad Lyons, Jamie McGonigal, just with his advice and leadership. And Dougie's still around, he's still around the changing room, passing on that advice as best they can. And yeah, look, age is just a number. The size of the goals are still the same, and if you have a chance for Curtis Allen, and we've seen that this year, 10 yards out, whatever it may be, 4 yards out, whatever, he's going to stick the ball in the back of the net. And look, he probably had a frustrating second spell with Coleraine. I think obviously COVID hit. He probably wasn't fully over that bad injury he had with Glentoran, where he was basically out for a year, and he was in and out of the team and everyone else, and he probably just needed to go. I think he'd be the first to tell you that. And obviously Stuart King's put his arm around him, and yeah, look, he seems to have bagged a few goals there, along with big Emmett McGuckin, who we know as well. So yeah, look, experience, you can never have too much of it as well. But you also look at Carrick, the young players they have: Lloyd Anderson, Curtis Forsyth, Ben Tilney, still thinks a young man as well. Alex Gawn, they have a fellow Mulholland there too, and you know, so they still have young boys, helping kicking around too. So they're good blend of experience and youth.
And a man who is experienced and used to wear the blue and the white of Coleraine, but he was not celebrating a win on Saturday. I'm talking about Owen Bradley, current of the parish of Glenavon. And if I'm going to pat myself in the back saying I thought Coleraine was going to beat Larne, I also want to do it again because I knew that somehow, some way, Dungannon was going to get that result against Glenavon. I don't know what to tell you, Glenavon fans. It's just going to be topsy-turvy and tough. But looking back on that game there at Stangmore Park, Dungannon looked up for it. It looked as though both teams had a lot of chances, but a goal that comes from a set piece. I don't know if I'm loving all these set piece goals I'm seeing in the Irish League, or it's frustrating me going, just defend, lads. I don't support you, but just defend. Get it right. But there was a flurry of chances, but Reece Campbell is the man that got the goal. I really love the look at him. He's got a tenacity and a pace up top that I think a lot of teams would absolutely love. And another win under their belt. They're only sitting on 7 points, but after 17 games, 6 points ahead of Portadown. The deep breaths, the relief that I'm sure Dungannon felt after that win must have been immense after going so many games without a point or a result.
Of course, I seen the goal. He actually takes it really, really well from the set piece. I mean, the MGC would have went over the bar and probably landed and poured it down or somewhere like that. But he sticks into the top corner. And I listened to Gary Hamilton's post-match interview, and he said that the goal was always coming from the set piece because they Dungannon threatened from three previous set pieces as well. And what they say about Glenavon, again, on our podcast, they are a Jackal and Hyde team. You know, they'll go and get a comeback against Cliftonville. We haven't beat them probably since World War II ended. And then they go to Dungannon, we're a team that I expected to beat, and obviously lose 1-0. And yeah, it's probably was a poker result for them considering the form that they'd been in. They were very good against us. I think they had three cleared off the line, and everyone else. And they've a really good squad there too. Obviously, Big Fitzy and Skinner that we know well, and Peter Campbell. And again, they've a lot of experience boys that we mentioned earlier. Sean Ward, Evergreen, Sean Ward, but yeah, in terms of Dungannon, that'll come as a big relief. The Dean Shields, obviously, and the players there. You know, you go six clear of Portadown, and might be a 3 points that they maybe weren't expecting. Obviously, yes, they were at home, but they probably would have taken a point. So that's another added boost as well. And a clean sheet, they have to build on that as well. So that's nearly like a 6 pointer, considering obviously Portadown could beat, which I'm sure we will be talking about later as well. So yeah, look, that's a big result for the Swifts.
Every game for Dungannon right now feels like a 6-pointer, and if we're going to be bigging up Reece Campbell for getting on the end of it, I'm going to have to big up, was it James Knowles? They just look like a really strong, great delivery from a corner there, and as Dungannon pushes on, they might not have a lot of opportunities to get going, but you know, they got a 4-2 win against Portadown in the Mid-Ulster Cup as well, and maybe they're starting to feel themselves. I always felt as though Dungannon have the players and the ability to push on, and I don't see them lacking man for man any different to a Carrick or Newry or even a Ballymena. It was about coming together and making things happen, and they have weathered the storm so far not particularly well for Dean Shields, and a lot of questions over his head, and look, they could go on a poor run and questions could arise again. But we go into these next few fixtures, there's a lot of big teams coming their way, and you can see where some teams are really getting hit hard with injuries, and Dungannon will look at that and think, if we can keep healthy, if we can stick to our guns, and we can show the exact type of fight that we had against Glenavon, I don't think that will be the first and the only. I don't think that will be an off-the-cuff result. I think we could see a few more shocks come at the hands of Dungannon Swifts if they can capitalise and keep up that tenacity.
Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't start next weekend because they're the visitors. They can keep it another week. But yeah, you look at their squad; it's full of, you know. I like Reece Campbell too. Declan Dunn's great shot stopper. He'd probably get a game for nearly other team in the league. James Knowles, again, great on the ball, vision, had a fantastic career over in England as well. Keelan Martin, I spoke about him 100. I thought last year he was the best defender in Irish League.
On the ball, I think he, in this modern football that we're moving towards, where centre backs need to defend, but they also need to be the start of attacks to build up. I think he looks fantastic every time. When he looks up, he can pick out a player, and he hasn't had enough chances to do that this season. Glenavon will feel disappointed there, sitting there. That was a chance to overtake Carrick and start to climb their way up to 7th and potentially beyond. And I hope that one game will not be a scud or a big black mark against Mihal Glen. He tried his chances from far out with those goals. It never really came there at Stagmore Park. I've still got my fingers crossed he's going to be player of the month. He has been a smashing signing for Glenavon, and they'll hope that is a mere blip in a season where it looks like it's just blip central. Where will they finish? Let's shake the 8-ball and find out. And we go to the news, as over the weekend there was a big splash in the Sunday Life via Stephen Beacom. He had a chat with Glentoran owner Ali Poor. I think we've seen numerous talks of what's going to happen with the Oval, what's going to happen with the future of Glentoran. Where are they going to play? Is it going to be a redevelopment? Is it going to be one of these myriad of pie-in-the-sky proposals? What I wasn't expecting was a 34,000-seater stadium in the harbour, a part of Belfast. I know it was just an interview, but that was a surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, 34,000 as well. They'll be expecting a lot of fans through the gates and at the Glens. And yeah, look, all these plans are great, but you obviously need to see them happen to fruition. We've got a room at Coleraine. We're trying to get the level up funds. They build a new stadium and everything else. And
it feels to me, and this is only just me thinking out loud, but perhaps when you saw in the chat and the papers of that Belfast bid to be a part of Euro 2028 and Casement Park, which is not a ground that is currently in a fit state to host a game, but if that was to come through and be a 34,000 seater stadium, I think maybe Ali was thinking out loud in the interview and was looking ahead going, well, we could have a 34,000 seater stadium ourselves. That's the new thing. You know, it's like if everybody else gets a fancy new jacket, everybody wants a fancy new jacket and they want to be a part of it all. And yes, like I was talking about, there has been loads of chats about where Glentoran will play, what's the future of the Oval. So I thought I'd call up a man who was on this podcast last week, go straight to the source and find out what Matthew Brown from the Shout of the Oval podcast made of this news. Matthew. This time last week, we were chatting about this Euro 2028 bid and how Casement Park may be a part of this Belfast bid, to be a part of it. And it was all about how we don't have any stadium that's going to be over 30,000, over 34,000 is the key thing. There has been lots of talk over the past number of years, probably decades, about what changes can be done to the Oval, where the future of Glentoran home games lie. Could you believe even a few days ago or even a week ago that suddenly over the weekend in the Sunday Life you'd be reading reports that potentially the man that's currently in charge of Glentoran is pitching or dreaming or thinking up a new home for Glentoran that could almost go up to 34,000?
No, it came as a surprise. I wasn't expecting to see that story in the paper at all. This must be about the seventh or eighth different touted potential stadiums for Glentoran over the last 20 years. There's been multiple different proposals from Larne to Blanchflower to up in Cumber direction. There's been the Esso site, the harbour site, the redevelopment of it. There's been so many. But this is the first time I've sort of got an investor who wants to put his money into it now. He's come out and said this, but I don't think that it is. I think it's pie in the sky. For a start, 34,000 seater stadium for Glentoran is absolutely mental. You know, that would be far too big. The Windsor Park, for example, Linfield fans say the match they experience there is pretty grim. Now, obviously, I would only attend if it's Glentoran playing or Northern Ireland playing, when the stadium has more fans in it. But I can imagine playing those Irish Cup games against the lowly opposition, or even the Irish League top flight games against lowly opposition when you don't get the massive crowds in. It would be pretty grim. So I don't think a 34,000 seater stadium is ever the way that Glentoran are going to go. I think you have to look at redeveloping the Oval. I don't know if this will happen.
Where has the chat been sitting when it comes to the Oval? Because yes, many people would look at the stadium and go, it's in somewhat disrepair, it's very old school in the whole round of it. There's no any real modern aspect to it, and there has been different places that have been pitched away from where the stadium currently is, on the idea that the stadium, the home of Glentoran, could move from where it is out to the Belfast docks. Would that feel like a strange place to move it to?
There was a campaign called Rest in East whenever it was touted that the Glens were maybe going to build a stadium at, I think it was Billy Neal at the time, which didn't count really as East Belfast. I think that was the spot, or it was maybe even further up the road towards Cumber. But I don't know if the docks would count as East Belfast. Would that sort of rattle a few cages? But I mean, if the Glens had an opportunity, and he can, obviously, if Alipore said, going to build you an 8 to 10,000 seater all seater stadium, but it's going to be at the docks, will you take it? You know what I mean? It's only down the road. You would take it, but it's the size of the stadium makes it pie in the sky. You were saying you don't know where we are at the Oval. Well, as in the redevelopment sort of thing. Taking you back to August 2020, Mick did an interview with Glentoran TV, and some eagle-eyed supporters noticed in the background on the wall of his office looks like stadium plans. Then about a year ago, these stadium plans were revealed. They came to fruition. They released this this plan. They completely redeveloped the Oval, built 2 new stands, terrace behind the net still. But I know that is they're waiting on the stadium funding. It's interesting to see that Alipore says that he would keep the Oval. It's interesting to hear the way he wants to fund this place. Is basically to buy land, build hotels, houses, and sell them, not to fund the stadium. He's a businessman. I'm assuming he has done his groundwork on that. But keeping the Oval is an interesting thing. Would it be like the Glens would have 2 stadiums? Could we play at the Oval sometimes? Would we have play the bigger games at this 34,000 seater? I have no idea.
It sounded a bit like a lot of how some of these state-funded super teams around the world, where they have this training ground, they have this almost small stadium within their complex, and a lot of the talk about moving away from the Oval over the years has been, well, you can get a lot of money from selling that ground. That could be prime real estate to get more housing developments in there. And yes, you did hit on something that stood out to me, was that, well, we could go down a completely private funding route where we sell houses pretty much on the land that we get to fund it, build it up around the area. regardless of where the stadium would go, 8 to 10,000, fairly modern stadium akin to the quality of Windsor Park, but at that size. That sounds about right for Glentoran, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that would be perfect, and I think that Linfield should have really pushed for a sale of Windsor. They probably should have got the IFA to buy that land off them and then build their own purpose-built stadium to suit their needs. Because now they're stuck in this here massive stadium that they're never going to get the crowd for, and that would be similar for Glentoran. And I know he's talking in the media. Obviously, he didn't say we're going to win the Champions League, but he said that in that interview, the dream is to win the Champions League, but the reality is obviously just league titles. But even if you get the Glens in the Europe, you're never going to. The thing is about Ulster Rugby get good crowds because there's one rugby team in the entire province for people to go to. So that's why they get those crowds. And I know that he's involved in boxing. And I know that he wanted, when he came over here, it was said in the time in the media that he wanted to stage big fights here, both north and south of the border. And he'd be looking for a venue to do that. So that is maybe playing into his thinking. Just think it's a bit of a white elephant. I can't see it happening. I do understand that Northern Ireland probably does need a big stadium, and he might go ahead and he might build it, but I just don't think it would be for Glentoran.
It sounds very ambitious, and I think you're right that we could facilitate something of that size for the big events. The idea that it would be the home of Glentoran does feel a wee bit over ambitious, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out in regards to a new ground for Glentoran. Clearly within the next 10 years sounds a lot, but that is a big part of this project. Do similar the way Inver Park is being completely redeveloped. You must look at them and think that's exactly where we want to be at. We want something of this style, except bigger. There's other bits and pieces that I'm just going to have to quickly hit at you. You're now going to be without Conor McMenamin for the 2 months you probably thought you were going to be without him last week. You're also going to be without Shane McCartan now for a number of weeks. I'm sure that is very disappointing news. Yeah,
two of the most creative players in the team. Conor McMenamin, well, you don't need to really say much on that. What a blow he is, the lose a player of that quality for that length of time. The sort of silver lining might be that Linfield and Crusaders, Linfield and Crusaders have been hit by a lot of injuries too. So, it's a few teams in and around us picking up big injuries. And Shea started the season on fire. And he's obviously picked up that suspension now. So he sort of dropped off a wee bit recently, but I think that he'll be a big loss, especially if he was pick up before that performance against Linfield earlier in the season. He was excellent. So yeah, two big losses, and Hervoy Plum too. Not sure how long he's out for, but he's out. Talking about a bit of creativity, also in the paper over the weekend, there's chat that you're giving some fluttering eyes at one Jordan Stewart. Could you go back? Could you see him go back even if Linfield were willing to go, absolutely, here's the price, let's make a deal here? Would that be a surprise with just the current situation in the league? I would absolutely love to sign Jordan Stewart, and I tweeted last night, and I didn't know this story was going to break. I tweeted over the weekend about Jordan Stewart. I says Glentoran's just signed Jordan Stewart and be done with it, because he's being linked to the Glens all the time, and I would get the Oval. He was such a good player for us, and he still is a great player, and Healy doesn't really seem to fancy him. I would definitely take him back. Could I see it happening? I don't think Linfield would even consider a bid from the Glens. They'll probably sell the Larne for cheaper. They probably, Larne, they were quoted 125 grand for him in the summer. I think that Larne would probably pay that, and I think that for the Glens, you're probably talking another 20 to 50,000 added on to that price tag. So, would I take him? Absolutely. Do I think it'll happen? No. It's the Ross and Rachel of the Irish League. Will they? Won't they? Forces stopping you guys coming together once again. We'll have to see, can Glentoran keep up their charge towards the league? We'll wait with bated breath. Matthew, thanks for coming. Cheers. Thanks very much, Peter. So, Matthew was there, chatting away. He somewhat sees this as a pie in the sky, potentially a wee nice 8 to 10,000 seater stadium.
would be nice. Where that will be, we will just have to see. But they were playing in a ground that doesn't host that many, but they had a big support down at Shamrock Park, and they finally got off their bumpy road. They finally got a win again, Glentoran, and if you're going to get it against anybody, I guess the bottom place team in the league is a good place to do it. Bobby Burns with one of the goals. They had to fight for it against the depleted Portadown side, but sometimes you just got to win ugly, and boy, was that somewhat ugly.
I listened to the match on the radio, and they were saying how well Portadown played in the first half, and they done everything but score. And when you're down there, things like that just obviously seem to go against you. Goals are hard to come by, and easy to concede. And nothing more obvious than the first goal. It's a free kick from about 40 yards out, takes a wicked bounce and goes into the back of the net. And obviously Bobby Burns' second goal is probably from about a combined 3 yards out, and it's a scrappy enough goal. But listen, they all count. And yeah, look, for the Glens, they'll take a win like that, a hard fought win. Probably didn't play their best. That probably means more than winning maybe 4 or 5-0 easy. It shows they got a bit of grit and determination there. And question marks would have been asked about them after losing at home to Cliftonville, and obviously losing the County Antrim game to Linfield. So they've bounced back with a win. As for Portadown, Niall just has to take the positives from another spirited performance probably in the first half, and just hope that the stars align for them, and things change. They're now 6 points behind Dungannon. They'll not want that to get any bigger.
Unfortunately, there was no strikers going in the Black Friday deals for Niall Curry. I don't even know if there's going to be a bountiful supply when it comes to the post-Boxing Day sales, with the likes of Dungannon getting results and they're being 6 points away, and you're losing to Carrick twice. And look, you're not going to get a result against Glentoran, but I don't know if they're going to get a result from anywhere right now. He's got a tough job on his hands. We all knew that. I don't think the fixtures are going to get any easier, any kinder. It's, you talk about trying to stop the rut. I just don't know how that's going to be the case. And perhaps if they could finish 11th Portadown, I think it would be one of the biggest achievements I've ever seen in the Irish League. I think there is some sparks or some quality. I like Alberto Balde for them. I think that they have other bits of potential, but I don't know how it's all going to come together. It would be an incredible turnaround for them, and I got posed this question to me, and you're going to laugh at me here, Johnny, because I literally did check. Portadown are currently sitting in all of Europe's top teams, top divisions, and some of them aren't currently playing because of the winter break. If they're playing in summer, they have a big long winter break, but Portadown are the joint worst team in top tier of Europe. The only team that comes close and is technically below them is Airbus in the Welsh League. They've only played 14 games and they've only been able to get a draw themselves, but technically they have -2 points because they got a 3-point deduction. Why did they get a 3-point deduction, Johnny? I think you can guess from the level of football. Because they did what?
Probably played an eligible player.
Correct, sir. 3 points down. You see, it's not just us. I'm sorry, Airbus UK. But at least there should be a little combination. Airbus and Portadown should hold hands across Twitter and go, "We're friends together. We're having it bad." But Portadown have played 3 more games than them. Glentoran all of a sudden are looking a wee bit peppy for themselves, albeit it's not been the best week. They have dreams of big stadiums, but over the next few weeks, 8 weeks at least, it's going to be filled with the likes of Conor McMenamin and Shane McCartan, because they're not going to be on the pitch, they're going to be in the stands. Conor McMenamin will now, after not going to be out for 2 months, he is now out for 2 months following the injury he sustained against Cliftonville, and Shane McCartan, his 3-match ban is now 7 because of things he said to referees. I don't know what they were, but seemingly, if the papers are correct, Glentoran are just holding what they have. They'll not see him this side of Christmas on the pitch. How much do you think how much will Glentoran miss the players of the ilk of McMenamin and McCartan in this tough run-in?
McMenamin's probably the informed player in the league, and he's probably the next that could probably go over the water. You don't play for Northern Ireland if you're no dozer and things like that. And yeah, look, they're going to miss him. He's a bright spark of the team. He pops up with goals. He creates things, and yeah, he's really really good to watch. McCartan again can play up, can bring other players to play. The quality players that can come in as well. Ali Roy, Danny Purgus, say the two Donnellys. Yes, whilst they'll miss them two players between now and probably the start of January. It's not as if they don't have quality players to come in as well.
And they're in the fight as they are only 3 points off top. Larne currently sitting there after playing 17. Glentoran have only played 15, so they've got games to get back, trying to crawl their way back up there. But I looked at this weekend's results and I thought, who really wins from this weekend? Yes, Glentoran got a result that they probably expected to get, but who was going to be sitting rosy and feeling really good about it? And look no further than Cliftonville. Ryan Curran pops up with another goal, officially, according to me, the most consistent player in the league. Perhaps he's not that flashy, but he is dynamite. 3-game win streak. They deposit Newry, send them back down the road. Another win for them. Cliftonville are able to shake off that early season pressure now. Will they be able to repeat what they did last season? That doesn't matter right now. It's all about week to week, and you have to, based on last year, there are a few better week to week get it done teams like Cliftonville. They're getting on with it, and they could really start to build a head of steam over the next few weeks, I think.
Cliftonville actually remind me of Coleraine whenever we were in the title races a couple of years ago, where they probably go under the radar. I think a lot of people are trying to be Larne, they're trying to be Glentoran, trying to be Linfield, but probably not as much this year about Cliftonville. Even though they won the cup last year and finished second, and everyone else and ran Linfield very, very close. Ryan Curran, in my opinion, the most underrated player in the league, if not or one of them anyway. His goal against Cliftonville, his goal against Glentoran on the volley. Many players do you see put that a mile over the bar. He's able to get underneath it and blast it in the back of the net. And yeah, he scores again on Saturday. And whenever you're able to bring off the likes of Joe Gormley off the bench that Cliftonville have in recent weeks, it's not fair. It's like cheating. It's like it's not fair at all. So he always seems to score. Whenever they won 2-0 that scene, I just knew it was due. I just knew it was Gormley. The amount of firepower they have with the two Eagles as well, Johnny McNabb. So, and back too, they're strong at the back as well. So yeah, look, Paddy's knit a really good team there. Good in the eye as well, good to watch, and they're able to dig games out as well as playing nice football as well. So look, they'll be thereabouts. We beat them at the start of the season. We really deserved it. They came to beat us and deserved it as well. So thereabouts, absolutely.
4 clean sheets for them, and they do look sharp up top. And really, when it comes to this league, why we see such a big bunch up at the top is because no one's really being able to get a big run against the other top teams. You look at Coleraine there in 6th, and the reason they're 6th and not 4th or 5th is because you guys aren't getting results against the top teams. And when you take Cliftonville and you see that they're able to do the boring stuff, not really flap that much when it comes to the bottom 6 teams, the other half is doing it against the top teams. And yes, they drew against Linfield, and they did have that poor result against Larne earlier on in the season. They haven't lost a game since that defeat to Larne all the way back in the middle of October. They get the result against Glentoran, and I don't know if week to week you would bet on a team more than Cliftonville. I just feel as though in a one-on-one situation, they are the most likely to just get the results and fight out these big victories. I think they have the poise and the stature to do it, and I think when I look at some of the other teams, they could get caught up in the moment. I'm starting to believe in this Cliftonville run that they could just hold off Linfield, get a result against Glentoran, and while all these other teams, and we'll talk about them later on, where Linfield and Crusaders draw, Cliftonville are thinking, well, we can take these teams down. They haven't done it consistently yet, but they look the ones most set up to do it in my eyes.
Like beat them first game of the season, they went on then a long unbeaten run until the Larne game. Larne beat them, and then they're now on a long run too. It shows a mark of a really, really good team that doesn't get themselves. They don't get too high when they win, and they don't get when they obviously lose. And look, yeah, they'll take confidence from last year too. They ran them full all the way. Yeah, look, they'll have that experience from last year. They'll have the bit between their teeth to go one better, and that's obviously to be champions. They've added Ronan Neal to a really prolific front line. they'll always score goals. You can never deny that, and it's obviously keeping them out at the other end. And you've mentioned the 4 clean sheets as well. They've Luke Turner there now too. Johnny Alice is just a different man possessed when he's been playing for Cliftonville. And everyone else, and obviously they've got the keeper situation sorted with Nathan Riverside in between the sticks. So yeah, look, and I don't know when Levi Ives is back, but obviously when he gets back too, there's another star performer for them too. So that they'll only be stronger from that as well.
Like a new signing, you hear media people say he will be when it comes to rejoining that team. And we talk about all these great goals. Let's end with a game that lacked them. Lacked chances, lacked goals. Both teams were lacking players. But was the one thing that was lacking was a good quality pitch. Because in the eyes of David Healy, he's throwing shade towards the IFA, saying Windsor needs to be maintained to the same standard as international games, he told the BBC. It was live at 5:30 via the BBC, and like a lot of these big top of the table clashes, they tried to feel each other out. They were risk averse, and it ends up being a 0-0 draw. I think Crusaders will be the happier of the two based on the way their team's being set up. Right now, when you saw the game, the pitch was a noticeable issue. I thought actually it was quite muggy, boggy, and you could see even on the TV there was quite a few patches where it looked a bit sticky and tough.
The pitch wasn't great. It didn't make for a great game. I think the biggest shock was seeing Declan Cadell out of retirement as well. Just randomly appeared and then got booked. So that's Declan in a nutshell. But obviously, look, if you look at the players both teams are missing, that team would probably nearly win the league. Jordan Stewart, Kurt Miller, and then you like sort of Chris Hegarty, Robbie Weir, and everyone else, and other there's certain other players that have obviously missed too. So yeah, look, it probably had the makings of a 0-0 when you factor all that in. The big chance is obviously Jordan Owens with 10 minutes to go. Many times have you seen Big Chicken just land at the back post and nod one in and he put it wide. So yeah, look, probably disappointing for Linfield because of their big win on Tuesday night at home to Larne, and they probably wanted to kick on with the momentum there. As for Crusaders, they were patched up away from home, and I think if you'd offered them a point before the game, they probably would have taken it. Yeah, look, the big winners this weekend is obviously Glentoran and Cliftonville with that draw, and I'm sure for Crusaders and Linfield, they'll be trying to get them boys, as many of them boys back, fit and raring to go as quick as they can.
Yeah, that's a tough place to go to, and Larne just showed that Linfield have a really great record up until the early part of this season over the past few years. So when they're walking wounded and they're calling up their old mate, old school, like it's, I don't know, amateur league football, when it's like, mate, come on back, play, we're really struggling. Cadell's like, I dead on. He even still has number 12 to play, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. So yeah, Cadell comes back in, gets a yellow card almost like instantly, less than 10 minutes in. Absolutely loved it. He was up for it. Why not? You want to come back for a game, you want to do it at Windsor for sure. And you mentioned some of the players missing for Linfield. The ones for Crusaders, you've got Robinson, Hegarty for Scythe, and now Winchester could be gone. Weir and Larmer, that is pretty much their whole team. I think there's another man that we talk about to be missing from Crusaders. I just can't remember his name right now, and he will not be spoken about in this podcast. He gets way too much chat, Mr. BK, for the lack of football he's played. I'm sure we'll all look forward to him coming back. But yes, right now, Linfield just feel as though they're ready to edge up and just come through everybody. You can't count them out, and with only 5 points off Larne at the top, when the big games come, they could really make a charge. Don't count them out, and we'll see how it goes. And just on the whole pitch situation, I find this very, very funny when David Healy was saying that he felt as though the standard should be higher and it's not being looked at. The IFA came back with that. They had noted the comments. So, comments noted, we move on. More points on offer, more games to go to as we get into, what is this, like the second or third week of the World Cup? The Irish League, we're going for game week 18. We don't stop for any of this winter break stuff. And if you want to get down to a Friday night game, Larne are playing as usual, but it's not in Inver Park. They're going to Mornview, and you can watch it via BBC Sport NI. Again, with Larne somewhat having a little bit of a wobble and Glenavon looking to bounce back from Dungannon. Like, there's something about this that just screams 3-0 Glenavon that I can't get out of my head.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. This is honestly the type of game they will win. Obviously, the last time they played, I think they had 9 men and got beat with a 99th minute penalty or
Oh
something.
yeah.
And Gary Hamilton said that Larne celebrated like they won the league. So there's a wee bit of needle between them two, I think, as well. Look, if Glenavon played the exact same way they played against us, played against Cliftonville, and played against Linfield, there's no reason why they can't get a result. I think there'll be goals in this game too. Larne, they'll be wanting to bounce back, obviously, from two defeats in a row. Glenavon will want to keep tabs with the top six as well. You said it. You could pick a scoreline out of a hat, and whatever scoreline you pick, you won't be surprised. So, yeah. Look, I don't know if you're looking for prediction from me, but I'll go for a 2-2 or something like that. It'll be a mental game.
I'm going to say 3-0 so I can literally do a lap of honour if it happens on Twitter on Friday night. Look, Larne should come in here, look to bounce back. Could they be without Paul O'Neill? We'll have to see. And as much as they didn't get a result against Dungannon, clearly Glenavon have players that can punish you. Going down there at home, it really could be a topsy-turvy game. I'm probably going to say this is maybe going to be a draw. I'm going to feel really annoyed if I back down from this. But yeah, a draw where Larne don't start great and then they have to fight back to get a result. A fixture, we move to Saturday at 3. A fixture I always think, oh, that could be interesting. You could see something go down there. But I don't remember many classics between these teams. Cliftonville go to the showgrounds. Ballymena buoyed by getting 3 points against those pesky Carrick Rangers. They were able to get a win against Crusaders a week and a bit before. Yeah, they lost to Linfield, but now that they're scoring corners rather than conceding them, maybe they've changed things around. Could McDade be the man to frustrate Cliftonville? I don't know. I think, again, I always say you cannot predict a hot hand is starting to get cool, and I think Cliftonville and the way they're going should come here and they should get a result fairly sharpish. It might not be the most free-flowing, it might not be the most pulsating game, but I think Cliftonville will come in and get the points.
Yeah, I think if you look at the head-to-heads, Cliftonville don't have a great record at Ballymena showgrounds. Ballymena have had a number of them quite a few times in recent years anyway. If you look at the form book, it should rate a comfortable away win, but again, I just don't see it like that as well. I think the pitch, the conditions, and everything else might play a factor in that one. But I do think Cliftonville will grind one out. I think it'll probably be like a 2-1, something like that. Something will be very tight. I don't think there'll be much in the game. Ryan Kern will probably score and Joe Gormley will come off the bench. How many times have we seen it? The old 1-2 between the two of them. So, yeah, look, I think for Ballymena, not that it's a free one. You can never have a free one at home, but if they were to get any points out of that, it would be seen as a really big bonus. As for Cliftonville, they'll want to keep the pressure on the teams in around them and in the table.
I think Ballymena will look to really frustrate Cliftonville, and they have the players to do it. Ross Redmond, I saw him live and in living colour, and as much as we talk about Cosgrove having a great foot to bring the balls in from deep, he was the man that provided the ball in from the corner, and that's where maybe you think Ballymena could be dangerous. They're a team who should be knocking in set pieces all the time with the likes of Jordan Gibson and Connor Keeley. They have big physical presence there, but I think Cliftonville will squeeze through this, maybe a 1 or a 2-0, maybe a dodgy penalty in there. It's hard to predict, but I think Cliftonville should be sitting safe, and the team that fell to Ballymena doesn't get any easier. They go to Windsor Park. Linfield finally getting all these home games back after barely sniffing Windsor Park earlier on in the season. Carrick got a very famous win against Linfield earlier in the season. I don't know, with Curtis Allen still potentially out, Cal Sherry not in there. It's a wide pitch there at Windsor Park, and I think Linfield will look to punish Carrick Rangers significantly.
They will. Yeah, I'm going for a home win. I think Linfield will want to get back. Obviously, they want in ways and keep the pressure. And the teams above them in the table, they have a good home record against Carrick as well. And yeah, look, I'll go for 2-0 Linfield, but I don't see it being a foregone, an easy win for them. Again, probably similar to the Cliftonville game, they'll probably have to work at it and grind it out.
If Carrick Rangers can get this 0-0 at half time, it's a free hit, and they'll look to counter, because they do have the likes of Ben Tilney and Forsyth out wide, and if they can get Linfield frustrated and trying to push men forward, that's where they can maybe counter and get the goal. But it says to me that Linfield will know exactly what's ahead of them from the off. They'll be turning the screw, and I think if they can get an early goal, Linfield will seal away with this. And we go to Seaview, probably the biggest game of the weekend for sure. Glentoran go to Crusaders. I think both managers will be sitting there with a sheet saying, my team's more injured than yours. But I don't think there's any team that's more injured right now than Crusaders. Glentoran simply need to get a win here if they are going to try and not let this dip become a significant lull. But Crusaders are tough, particularly there in Seaview. They'll be up for the fight. They'll be missing some players, but when you have Philip Laurie in the centre of that midfield, pushing on with the ball, the man that's dangerous from set pieces, Glentoran have a lot to think about when it comes to how they set themselves up for that game. Are they playing 3 at the back? Are they playing the 2? It really just could be a different mix of players that they really approach as a one-off for me. And I still just think there's a pluckiness to Crusaders at home that's hard not to think that will continue.
This is a really tough one. I know Glentoran won the 2 meetings there, nearly certain last year. After it does more record at Seaview. A game of Crusaders, you're expecting Davy McGowan and Paul Lehman at centre half to come back as well, and all the old boys. So, who else could come back? Stevie McBride left back or something. Like, all your points are valid. Crusaders will want to keep just ticking over. Yes, they've 2 games in hand, but you'd rather have the points on the board. I'm going to go for a draw. I agree with you. I think Crusaders at home are plucky enough, and I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think probably. I'll go for a 1-1 draw, maybe a red card and a bit of drama.
Hey, something a bit spicy, something a bit tasty. It probably looks like a draw, but I think this is... Like, he's had a few of these games, but I think this is the coming out game for Macaulay Snellgrove, getting a big winner against a big team like Glentoran. They were able to squeeze out a win against Portadown. They're going to have to show me that they're going to be able to take on a big team without the likes of Shane McCartan, without the likes of Conor McManaman. That's a complete overhaul to how they've been setting themselves up. And going down to Seaview, you need to be sitting there in your Sunday best. And right now, Glentoran have lost their tie and have no clue where their shoes are. So we'll see how that goes. We go to the Coleraine Showgrounds. Dungannon Swifts. Why did they have to get plucky just before they play you? I imagine what you're saying here. I know it's hard to predict the result around your own team. You will be nervy, I think, until you get a goal in against Dungannon. A goal early and a goal more than one is probably what you're after.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time we've played them this year. We beat them, was it 5-0 away and beat them 3-0 at home, so we've enjoyed success against them this year. Obviously, Dean Shields coming back to his former club and up against his brother-in-law, and all that stuff probably writes for itself now, to be perfectly honest. For Coleraine, I think you mentioned that an early goal is key. Yes, confidence probably is a bit higher now with Dungannon after a win, but it's not it's not at the ceiling. If you can get an early goal and try and break them down. But I suppose with Dungannon, they're not going to park 10 men behind the ball. That's not their game either. They're going to try and pass it out and everything else. So yeah, look, it'll probably be a decent game on the eye. We'll be looking as well to keep the momentum going from the Larne game. We're not in a bad run ourselves. I think we're only the last 2 or 3. So yeah, look, for us, for where we want to be and where we want to go, we have to win. It's as simple as that. And yeah, but again, I say this for all the games. I don't think it'll be an easy one. So I'll go. There's been 5. There's been 3. So I'll go for a 2-0 Coleraine.
Styles make fights. You guys are tight at the back. Dungannon are struggling to get a real attacking rhythm going. You also press high up the pitch. That's where Dungannon are faltering at times, where they're losing the ball. They'll not want to have the likes of McKendry snapping at their heels. No matter how good I think Marin is playing out with the ball, when you've got Shevlin and other players snapping at you, chasing you down, they've made mistakes from there, and previous record shows that you've been able to blast them away. I cannot see another result. I feel strongly about this. I think this is a Coleraine win, and you're right, 2-0. Get Shevlin back to his good old goal scoring form. I hear you cry. And a Sunday game, alas, you're going to have to get down to Newry if you want to see it. Not being streamed, not on your telly box. Portadown go to Newry. I'm sure Nell Curry is looking at this and thinking these are the type of games where you need to get something, a result. Even a goal would be nice. Maybe a shot on target. That could be good. Again, Newry have had to go against some tough teams over the past few weeks. They go to North Belfast 2 weeks in a row. They get nothing. Back home, get the fire on, get the tea on. They are not a great place for other teams to go. They love playing there. If they can get a result against Portadown, I feel as though that means that they're safe. They can start planning for next year. They'll not want me to hear me talk about it. Right now, it's probably a good time to play against Newry if you're Portadown, because they probably aren't feeling great about themselves after those 2 results. Does that equal a draw, perhaps, when you throw it into the pot and give it a mix?
A draw was actually in my mind. I think Portadown would probably take a draw, just a point on the board, a positive result, and 0-0, clean sheet. He probably might take it. I think with Newry as well, yes, they've lost their last 2. Dungannon have won last week. They'll want to clear the challenge of Dungannon. They'll not want to end the season playoff as well. I think Newry are too good for that too. They're strong at home. They've lost a few games at home where they've been unlucky. I think Crusaders and Limfrey Spring, they might think they're good against the both of them as well. So yeah, I genuinely had a draw in my head, but I actually went for a 1-1 draw. I just don't see Portadown score more than 1 goal ever.
Yeah, it's like the Portland would have to score a goal for that to be the case. I don't know. I think Newry had the run around with them a few weeks ago. It's tough for Portadown. They're still playing about with shape. They've had a few injuries themselves, and it was a very young team by all accounts, according to Nell Curry, against Glentoran. It would be a massive turn up for the books if Portadown was to get something, which really shows you how low they've fallen in recent times. But I'm probably going to say, I think when you have James Taylor and you have Lorcan Ford, and that's really areas of the pitch where Portadown do not like to be attacked out wide. I think that this is similar to those Carrick games. I think they'll have the runabout of Portadown. So I'm probably going to say 2-0 win for Newry on a Sunday. But probably one of the few more unpredictable games of the weekend, even based on looking where they are in the table. If Portadown fans, you want to look at how Airbus UK Broughton are doing, well, they're welcoming Connacht's Key to the airfield on Friday. So all eyes on there. Battle of who is the lowest ranked, fewest points of a top team in Europe. So all eyes on the Welsh League if you're a Ports fan, but we'll have to see. Johnny, it's been an absolute delight to have you on. Thanks for going through all the runners and riders for the week in your profession. I'm sure it does not get any easier as we approach Christmas and these little slogs, this mad fixture calendar that we all can't stop talking about.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It was great. I think it's fantastic that the league's obviously on whilst the World Cup's on. As I say to everybody, whether you're a Euro fan, Korean fan, Ballina fan, go out and support your local team. It's proper football, and everyone else, yes, you get a bit more frustrated when they don't win, but at the same time, if you felt as good as I did after Friday night when you beat Larne, it's all worth it in the end up. And yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. As you say, there's probably 3 leagues within the league, and I think the fixtures between now and probably the middle of January is going to tell a tale for a lot of teams and their ambitions and everything for the season. For Korea, it's probably trying to finish as high up in the league they can to try and get into Europe. The likes of Larne, Glentoran, Enfield, and probably Crusaders and Cliftonville will have one eye on trying to win the league, and then you've Glenavon, Carrick, and Ballina trying to get in the top 6, and then you've the bottom 3 or 4 teams trying to avoid relegation. So look, every point's crucial between now and the end of the season. And it's getting a bit busier now. Obviously, we've a League Cup semi-final against Cliftonville on the horizon too. So, yeah, look, it's busy, but you wouldn't have it any other way.
And this is clearly not just for myself and my fantasy team purposes. What's the story with Lee Lynch? He doesn't seem to be starting recently. Is that a wee knock that he has, or just a change in team shape for Coleraine?
Probably a change in team shape. He started obviously against Glenavon, so he did, and then he was on the bench for the Larne game. Probably it was Connor tasks they play in that role just in mind Chevy, and he scored. And yeah, Lee Lynch's birthday today, obviously, so he's 31, another year wiser. And everyone else, but look, he'll play plenty. He's a massive say between now and the end of the season. Great energy levels, right, go through it, good in the ball. So yeah, look, it's just one of them things where Friday night, but it doesn't necessarily mean he'll not play on Saturday.
Well, I can sympathise as a man that's sitting here being poured on by the magic of paracetamol due to my birthday drinks last night. I can sympathise. It is just the season of the way we are right now. Looking at it, you are one of the co-hosts of the Coleraine podcast, which of course you can listen to if you're any fan in the league to hear what you guys are nattering on about. But you are sitting somewhat looking good in the top 6. Do you feel as though you can go on a run, get things going? Clearly Europe is the aim, or do you see maybe even a better run on your horizon? Is it a week-to-week thing, you think, for the Bandsiders right now?
I think for us, Coleraine in recent years have always picked up a result and then on a good run, whereas we've picked up a few good results this year and then just haven't sustained the run. And I think the thing with Coleraine, and I say this to everybody, I think we're nearly victims of our own success in the sense that everyone expects us to challenge for the league now after 2 or 3 really great years, and it's difficult. I don't want to sound like Gary Hamilton and harp on about the full time teams, but it is hard. It is, and that's just how it is. Larne, Glentoran, Cliftonville, they're all quality teams with quality players, and we have to fight against that. Doesn't mean you sit there and give up. No, you don't. But at the same time, there needs to be a bit of realisation that maybe challenging for the league just isn't as straightforward. But yeah, I think for Coleraine, it's just going to try and go on a run here. Because we have a League Cup semi-final. If we can get into a final, you'll have players wanting to start and everyone else, and that'll push the rest of the team on as well. And for us, Europe, to me, for a good season for Coleraine, we'll be qualifying for Europe, and if you can pick up a cup along the way, fantastic. So that's my personal aims, or my aims I like to see for Coleraine. It's been probably a frustrating season so far. As I said, we've picked up a few good results, but then dropped points in games that we shouldn't have seen coming. Ballymena, for example, is a perfect one. Absolutely played so well against them, and Ross Redmond had a lovely delivery and into the box and a free kick, and you don't take your chances and concede individual goals. It's a bad recipe. So if you've been able to keep more clean sheets in recent weeks, we've been tougher to beat, and here's hoping we can find that happy medium of being tough to beat but also putting the ball into the back of the net.
And this may be a dramatic one to drop in just as we wrap things up, but could you be doing it the rest of the season after January without one Lyndon Kane chat in the Sunday Life over the weekend that potentially Linfield and or Glentoran have a wee eye on him, a wee notion about him? That would be a big loss if he was to go.
I literally had that sent to me just before we came on the podcast. It's the first time somebody's had a nibble at Lyndon. In my opinion, him and Tomas Cosgrove, Billy Joe Burns, probably top 3 back. I think Lyndon's got 2 or 3 years left in his contract. He has a testimonial next year, I'm nearly certain, with Coleraine as well. So it would have to take a very good financial package, I think, for Lyndon to leave. That's my own personal opinion. Lyndon might feel that he needs to maybe move on. They maybe have a better sustained chance of winning trophies. I genuinely don't know. It is a cause on the truth. I think if you were to lose a player like that, it's a massive blow. He's a heartbeat of Coleraine. He's a heartbeat of the team. He's a local boy. We say that he's one of our own, and he is. He had his 250th game there on Friday night, and if it wasn't for cruel injuries, he'd be well surpassed 400. I'm nearly certain by now. So, yeah, look, hopefully it's just paper talk. It doesn't surprise me that there's interest in him. He's a fantastic player. Any team would take him. But here's hoping that he can stay at the Showgrounds.
I look at the teams that are being mooted as some of his destinations. I think surely Glentoran do not need any more wing backs who can play in midfield. Linfield, I must say, it's been a weakness in my eyes. They don't have as much dynamism coming from those deep, wide areas. Like, that's the type of player that I think that could really change up a team like Linfield and would look amazing. But as you said, local guy has been flirted with previously before, and he's sitting there at the showgrounds and his Coleraine push on. We will have to see if that's in the mix. Again, early stages. It's not even December yet, really, and we're chatting about things that could happen in January and beyond. Johnny, it's been a pleasure. Where can people go see and hear the things you think and the stuff you do?
Yeah, so the podcast, the Coleraine podcast is like every week, so we try and vary our guests and else, and get a few good ones lined up. We're trying to get like Stephen Lomas on. We flirted the idea of trying to get Gareth Macaulay on, but we couldn't pay his agent fee and appearance fee and things like that. But no, look, it's me and Damien. He's the host. He's the boy he's the holds everything together, and I try and get the guests. So, but yeah, look, it's we usually do it for 45 minutes, and we release it on the club website and social media every week, and it's on Anchor, Spotify, and all the usual outlets.
And I have actually a metaphorical award to give you just before you go, based on complete hearsay on the Kicking Match Twitter. I would like to offer congratulations as the best first 11 team lineup social media graphic. Congratulations, sir. Coleraine was everybody's favourite, maybe you and Carrick, so well done, you guys. Everybody seems to like it.
Thanks very much. I'll have to credit our graphic designer now for that one. The lineup graphics and everyone else can be temperamental, because I thought it was a 4-4, or I think it was a 4-4-2 on Friday night or something, or 4-3-1 or something. That actually turned out to be a 3-5-2. So it can play on your mind. The problem is Lyndon Kane, because or George Carson.
Yes, of course it is.
So yeah, you're looking at the team sheet and it's like a maze trying to work out where everyone's playing. So yeah, thanks to Orn for that one.
Hey guys, you got to take your wins when you can. Been a pleasure, Johnny. I'll chat to you soon. And that is that all over for another week. Cheers to Johnny for chilling out, chatting nonsense with me. I am high on E-numbers and sugar as I've divulged myself into another, probably my third or fourth slice of my rather childish football little cake that I got this weekend. I had a great time indulging myself in craft beer and hedonism, also with this rather silly nonsense little 12-year-old's cake that I got, and all my friends thought it was very, very funny to give me this weekend. Birthday times, sadly, they are over, but I had a great time all the same. If you want to check out the most ridiculous cake I've potentially ever had in my life, you can see it on my Instagram or Twitter feeds. Where are they? Well, they are, of course, at Kicking Match on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things, Spotify. However you listen to this, you may listen to this through Smart Speaker, and you go, hey, Smart Speaker, please play Kicking Match, an Irish League podcast. I can see it going up. It went from up by 1% in the past few weeks, so you guys are listening out there somewhere. Thanks for listening. Keep on trucking. Keep on seeing games. I'll see you very soon, and hopefully I'll have a few more new voices and faces to come on between now and next week. Thanks for listening. Cheerio. Toodles. A fond adieu.